Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Let's Play. I guess I gotta word it that way now because things are different now. Hi, fellas. Welcome to a brand new Let's Play. The Let's Play that I didn't tell you guys. I didn't spoil it beforehand. Fellas, it's finally happened. We're finally getting around to Super Mario Galaxy. This has been a game that I have thought about doing for just like ages, man. Like, this is a game that I feel like I've really wanted to do for a long time. You know what? Yoshi is feeling like the silly vibe for this Let's Play, I feel. This is a game that I have been wanting to do a Let's Play of for just ages, man. And a big part of it is because in a similar vein to Donkey Kong 64, which was our last Let's Play, this game means a lot to me, okay? I really find that when it came to, you know, when you're a kid, and if you're a kid that is kind of into video games, I'm sure we can all kind of relate to that sort of feeling of, like, it feels kind of magical, in a sense, right? To be into gaming. And I think just whatever you're playing, there's always, especially depending on the game, right? There's always something very magical. And obviously for me, I grew up around a lot of Nintendo. A lot of what I was growing up with was stuff like the DS, you know, stuff like the Wii. The Wii was a big part of my childhood. I can definitely say that for a fact. And as a result of the Wii being a big part of my childhood, you know, I've told you guys the story of how I used to light up a bunch anytime I would go to, like, the McDonald's. You know, I told this during the last couple episodes of Donkey Kong 64, but I used to tell this story about how I would go to, like, our local McDonald's, and they used to have this N64 kiosk that would have Mario Kart 64 in it, and anytime I would see a kid go over there and they would start playing it, and I would just hear the title screen. And that title screen, and I still stand by this, is one of the most magical title screens in gaming. This is another one of them, though. And I think this whole game, Galaxy as a whole, is such an interesting Mario game, okay? And obviously it's one of the most beloved series out of anything in the Mario franchise, right? It is very beloved. I think people desperately want a third game, myself included. I don't expect it to happen, but God, wouldn't it be so cool? Wouldn't it be so cool? And as much as I want it to happen, I know it probably won't. But this game is very, very magical. I think it's magical from a lot of different perspectives, man. I think there is an aspect of it that it's, like, very spacey. It's very open. It's definitely one of the way more linear 3D Mario games, but it, like, almost doesn't feel that way. I think that, in a sense, the atmosphere makes it feel like there is a lot of exploration to be had, which, in reality, there's kind of not. But, like, again, I just think the style of the game and the presentation really lends itself to really feel like that's the case. I know that I'm describing all this while doing the intro bit. Listen, if there's one thing I've always tried to emphasize, guys, when I do my Let's Play, I'm not always going to be the type to be like a guide walkthrough type of person. And I think I tried a bit of that during Donkey Kong 64, and it just didn't work out for me, dude. Like, I just did not vibe with doing that. Like, I think also for a game that was as complex as Donkey Kong 64, it was a lot harder to, like, sit there and give you guys kind of like a guide or a rundown of what we were doing, because it's also, there's so much in that game that it's hard to say confidently what we're doing. The thing about this game, at the very least, is there's probably going to be stuff that we do in it, but at the very least, it's kind of a linear game, so I can kind of always have an idea of what we're doing. Something that I also want to make abundantly clear is regarding how much of the content of this game that we are actually doing. Now, I know this seems like a crazy idea, given that I kind of switched and flip-flopped what we were going to be doing during Donkey Kong 64 like 2 or 3 different times, right? But I'm very confident in this decision for this game because it's, again, so much more of a linear game, and I think it makes a huge difference. I think we're going to 100% this game. We're going to get all 120 stars. That is the plan. And honestly, I really, again, do think that, to me, the willingness to 100% a game is not so much determined by how much content there is. It is, like, in a way, like, if I am more locked into, here, go down this one path, here's some optional stuff you can do later, but, like, here is the linear optional path, I'm going to be a lot more inclined to 100% that. There are some games that I think are a pretty big exception, and I have a little more willingness to work towards a 100% on. So, like, Mario 64 is a great example, and even though this game is probably going to take a while to fully finish this Let's Play, I'm just going to be real with you. It's probably going to take a while. This is a game I'm 100% willing to, I think, 100%. Now, of course, take it with a grain of salt. Anything could change, but, you know, only time will tell. Also, very handy thing about this, I am actually playing this on the 3D All-Stars version. So, yes, same sort of deal as when we played Mario 64, except this is an actually good port of the game in question. Respectfully, man, the Mario 64 port was, in my honest opinion, the worst of the 3 by far. I mean, it's not even close, right? It's not even close. And this, it's kind of difficult to tell whether it's like by a long shot or not, but this game, I feel like, was the best port they did of the 3, genuinely. And I'm glad they did this service to it. I do, and listen, a lot of people have this sentiment when it comes to 3D All-Stars, is that Galaxy 2 would have been a great addition. Speaking of Galaxy 2, I do also want to let it be known, Galaxy 2 is a game that I think I would want to Let's Play one day. Now, I will tell you guys, I have to think a little more about how I would do that one. There's a likely chance that if I do end up doing it, I would still 100% it. So don't really worry about that. But it would. And listen, I'm sitting here and saying that Galaxy is going to be a lengthy process because typically the stars take a fair bit more time in this game than in like Mario 64, right? There's 120 stars just like Mario 64, but the stars take so much longer. Like, I'm telling you, we might only get to do like 3 stars at most in an episode, man. And if you really try and divide that up into like maybe the 20-minute episodes that I typically do, which is probably still how I'm going to do the format for this series, like, it's, oh man. This episode might be one of the exceptions though, where maybe we have a slightly longer episode depending on how long it takes, because I do at the very least want to get through the prologue for this first episode. I think that would just be a nice way of doing it. Yeah, I think the main goal of this first episode is going to be less time-oriented and more getting through the prologue and whatnot. But yeah, so this is just a game that I have been so utterly excited to start on. Just literally because, again, similar to Donkey Kong 64, it means so much to me. This, obviously, unlike Donkey Kong 64, this was not the first ever video game I played. That being said, it is one of the video games that when I think of, like, just feeling like I had this, like, feeling of, like, oh, man, this is magical while playing a video game as a kid. And, you know, it gets the creative flows as, you know, a kid running. This game is one of the biggest examples of where I got that vibe, man. Because it is just, I think no matter what your age is, bro, there is something here for any age of Mario fan, right? I think especially because there's a lot of like there's Rosalina's storybook, which I don't know if that's really anything we're gonna go through in this Let's Play, but there's Rosalina's storybook stuff that you unlock progressively over the course of the playthrough. Now, I don't know if you unlock it all by the time that you get to go to Bowser, or if it's you unlock it all once you get 120 stars. I don't really know how it works, but I have read the full story before, and guys, that is a surprisingly deep and sad story for a Mario game. It is very emotionally charged. And again, this is a Mario game. So, like, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where, again, you've got themes like that are going to be a lot more in the range of maybe what an adult would, kind of know and experience. But then also, look at this, bro. We're in space, kind of like doing the whole like connecting to the planets thing, traveling on the gravity of it and everything, and it's really cool. This game, I think in general, was just one of the coolest concepts they could have put on the Wii, wholeheartedly. I think that there is so much good that's going to come out of it. Again, this whole first episode is me shilling out for this game to no end, and rightfully so. I think it's a amazing game. You know what I'm realizing, dude? You know what I'm realizing, honestly? We're going to get through this prologue a bit quicker than I was expecting. We're 12 minutes in. Maybe a slightly shorter first episode. Maybe like a 15-minute episode. Just a good introduction episode never hurts, I would say. But, yeah. So I'm very excited to start this journey. It's probably going to be a long one. I don't know if it's going to be longer. Jamboree is currently my longest Let's Play, and it's kind of the point of reference, right? Donkey Kong 64 got a bit close, but it didn't beat. Okay, it didn't beat Jamboree. There was 5. Not Jamboree. Wait a minute. Am I doing this right? Oh no. Hold on. Wait. I think I am. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Frick. Dude. Something you also have to consider is I am playing this through a capture card as opposed to like an emulator or something, so there's a little input delay. But, it's no issue, really. I don't think Galaxy is typically going to be the most punishing game with a little input delay, right? I mean, there's going to be some complex jump moments, right? There's going to be moments like that, but, it's nothing terribly complex. So I'm not really all that worried about it. Hey, we got a grand star, the first of several. I want to say many, but it's not really many. It's just, especially it's not many if you put it up against the amount of, like, actual stars in the game. I think they count grand stars as an actual star, funny enough. That's something that I don't really want to confirm, like I just know it, because I don't. But, it's very much a possibility. But, yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be such an interesting chapter. Again, I think this is going to be a fairly lengthy Let's Play. How long it's going to actually be to do all 120 stars? Don't know. We will cross that, get there when we bridge, really. But hey, we got a grand star. Okay, so grand stars do count as regular stars. Very interesting. We got 40 star bits, and we discovered a new galaxy in the terrace. So I'm gonna like go through the dialogue here. Unfortunately, if you were expecting me to follow the dialogue very closely, I'm not really going to be doing that much. But this is also a little bit of my opportunity to say that Rosalina as a character, dude, is so interesting. Can I just say that? Rosalina as a character is so interesting to me. Because, I think I heard something pointed out about this in, like, a Mario Galaxy video essay I was watching, or it was more or less listening to yesterday during a walk. I was kind of listening to it like a podcast, and they were like, man, Rosalina is, like, Mario's equivalent of a god, bro. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's kind of very deep when you think about it, but, like, yeah, I kind of see that. So, yeah, we basically have to collect a bunch of star power. Granted, she really only needs the grand stars, but we're not, well, okay, no, she needs more than that, but she mostly needs the grand stars. She needs the stars to, you know, power up the observatory, because apparently the observatory is like a vehicle sometimes. Yeah, I don't want to end game spoil, but this is Mario Galaxy, bro. This game was released in, like, what, 2007? 2007, 2008? I don't even remember. If it was 2007, dude, like, we are almost 20 years out from this game. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, that actually stings to tell myself. Ow. Ooh, how is this game almost 20 years old? God, that doesn't feel good. Well, fellas, yeah, we're just going to do the pause thing. Fellas, that's going to do it for this first episode of Super Mario Galaxy. Hey, we got through the prologue. This is probably going to be one of the slightly shorter episodes in the series, simply just because, you know, I wanted this first episode to simply be more centered around getting the prologue done. Man, you can really see, I mean, I think the motion sensors are just a little sensitive, so that's probably why it's shaking there. But fellas, that's going to do it for this first episode of Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, very excited for this. This is probably, again, going to be a fairly lengthy Let's Play, but I think it is one that I'm going to be very, very excited to go through. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points where I get stumped in the sense of not knowing what to do. See, that's my worst enemy. My worst enemy is getting stumped in the sense of not knowing what to do. I do not mind getting stumped in terms of there's like something kind of difficult, and even then, there's some tough stars in Galaxy, but there's nothing like egregiously tough, I would say. So I'm not really too worried about it, but yeah, really, that's all I got to say about it. Anyways, fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Galaxy. Fellas, if you enjoyed this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe. And I will see you, fellas. Oh no, I had a burp almost. And I will see you, fellas, in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.